So this thing sucks. Want to know why? Keep watching. Ready to dive into custom water cooling but unclear about what parts you might need? Check out Thermaltake's new M360 Plus RGB kit. Featuring a D5 pump res combo, 16mm hard tube, Pacific C Pro fittings, and the best RGB implementation on the market, the M360 Plus fits all mainstream Intel and AMD sockets and is fully expandable as your system evolves. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. When the 8086K was announced, there was an unusually small amount of lead time before it was released. Basically 2 weeks ago, this thing right here was purely rumor, albeit a very well-known rumor. And then before anybody could even really blink, Intel announced and released its first consumer chip with a guaranteed 5 GHz boost clock. I know that I wasn't given any heads up any more than anybody else was, and for that reason, I was even kind of unsure if I was going to cover it. But my friends at Computer Upgrade King reached out and asked if I wanted to take one on loan and run some tests on it and see what this beefed up 8700K could really do. So just to be clear, this is not a sponsored video in any way, but I do want to give a thank you once again to the good guys over at the Computer Upgrade King HQ. Their website will be linked down below along with a discount code, so check them out. So what is the 8086 and why does it exist? Well, to be honest with you, I'm about 99% sure that this is basically just a marketing stunt. Intel chose to celebrate the 40th anniversary of their groundbreaking 8086 chip by taking a few select 8700Ks that they had sitting around the warehouse, rebranding them, sticking them in a fancy new box, and jacking the price up by $75. They assume some people might buy them as they're labeled limited edition, and Intel has guaranteed a 5 GHz boost clock right out of the box. Now, what they didn't really explain is that this wasn't an all-core 5 GHz guarantee. This was actually just good for single core. So yes, if you're running a task that only utilizes one core, that one core will hit 5 GHz without any tweaking. But real-world workloads rarely, if ever, work like that anymore. The rest of the 8086K's boost table is identical to the 8700K, be it with 2 cores active, 3 cores, 4, 5, or 6. So when we get to reliable and repeatable CPU synthetics like Cinebench, the results look like this. See the difference? No? Well, this will become a trend, I promise you. Let's skip through some more test results at stock frequencies. These tests were all run with the following setup. A Z370 RS Gaming 7 motherboard from Gigabyte, 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 3000 memory with the XMP profile enabled, a GTX 1080 Founders Edition, and a Fractal Design Celsius S36 for cooling. I also turned off any and all multi-core enhancements, so everything was on equal footing. Whether we're looking at the CPU portions of popular benchmarks like Firestrike or TimeSpy, CPU-specific tests like Cinebench or IDA64, popular AAA game frame rates, or real-world multi-threaded workloads like Adobe Premiere, Handbrake, or Blender, the results speak for themselves. This is an 8700K. There's no difference at all at stock speeds. This was really actually rather frustrating as it took me quite a bit of time to run through all of these test scenarios. And as everything kept coming out the same, I actually did get a little frustrated. But maybe I thought the real purpose of the 8086K isn't running at stock speeds. After all, Intel said that these were bin chips. Maybe I'd be able to get a really good overclock out of it and see some real return for the $425 selling price. To establish an overclocked baseline, I took my 8700K as far as it would go. Unfortunately, I don't have a particularly good sample to work with, as my 8700K gets super flaky at anything more than 5.1 GHz on all cores. It achieves this at 1.4 volts, which makes for some uncomfortably high temperatures even with a cooler as good as the S36. I ran through all 11 tests again and took notes of our results. I then popped the 8086K back in the socket, hunkered down, and went to work. I aimed high at first, likely a little too high, but I mean, why not, I guess, right? I went for 5.4 GHz straight away at a pretty optimistic 1.3 volts. Of course that failed, and I worked my way all the way up to 1.5 volts at that frequency before I decided to step it down. So I went to 5.3, then 5.2, then 5.15 before I got any test to complete at all. Unfortunately, this was still not a stable situation, as prolonged CPU stress would blue screen us after about a minute or so tasks like Adobe Premiere exporting was impossible. Here is my overclocking chart for the brand new binned Intel i7-8086K. Where did I settle? An all-core overclock of 5.1 GHz at 1.35 volts. Yep, the exact same frequency as my lame old 8700K. So what does that mean for our test results? Well, I'm absolutely sure that you are not going to be surprised at all with what I'm about to show you. So this thing is garbage, like hot, steaming, marketing, buzzword-infused garbage. Don't buy one. In fact, just forget that it exists. I've said this before about other products. If you were to just take an 8086K and put it in your system without knowing what it was or how much it cost, its performance likely would be very satisfying. But this isn't how products exist in the world. There is competition and pricing to consider. And in this case, Intel themselves puts out this exact same chip for $75 less. Why would anybody in the world be expected to buy an 8086? Because of the fancy box? I guess the packaging is impressive, but if you're buying this because the cardboard is nice, you need to reconsider your purchasing strategy. So that's where I'm gonna end this review. I wasted an entire day of my life trying to squeeze even the slightest bit of extra performance out of the 8086K, and in the end, it was all an exercise in futility, just like buying one of these would be. So if you found this video useful, or informative, or entertaining, please hit that like button down there and get subscribed to the channel. If you really liked it, consider supporting BPS Customs directly by picking up some merch, or possibly even becoming a patron. You can find those links down below. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.